I've lost my Die Another Day VHS. I'm gonna have to make do with just showing you the world is not enough. Tomorrow Never Dies. And GoldenEye in these ranking videos. So I've been ranking the James Bond series, phase by phase. We started with the Connery Bonds ranked, followed by me discussing the George Lazenby one-hit wonder. Then we went into the Roger Moore era. And last night, before I went to bed, I uploaded the Dalton Double, my take on the Dalton 2 films. Talked about License to Kill mostly, but anyways, 20 years ago, I fell in love with James Bond. I went to see The World Is Not Enough later that year. Got my VHS collection, went on to get 3 different Bond sets, yeah. Mental, totally insane. You don't need 3 Bond sets, one's enough. One Bond set is enough. Isn't Denise Richards just beautiful? Anyways, you know, in my childhood, I was known for 3 things, supporting 3 things: wrestling, Glasgow Rangers, and Bond, James Bond. And the Pierce Brosnan era was what I grew up with, even though I fell in love with Roger Moore era, and he became a favourite Bond. Pierce Brosnan is the Bond I grew up with. And I've heard people saying he's like a mix between Sean Connery and Roger Moore, the 2 best James Bonds. And he was a great James Bond, Pierce Brosnan. I also want a 5th James Bond film from Pierce Brosnan, but we got Casino Royale with Daniel Craig instead. Anyways, so I'm going to rank, without my Die Another Day VHS, we're going to rank. It's got the best cover, it's annoying me. I'll probably find it after I do this video. But Die Another Day would be my 4th placed Pierce Brosnan James Bond. It was my second cinema trip Bond experience. I came out the cinema thinking, I think I enjoyed that better than my World Is Not Enough cinema trip. But on rewatch, after the honeymoon period was over with Die Another Day, I realized that this is one of the worst James Bond films ever made. However, I will say, it does have one of the coolest moments when Brosnan's Aston Martin is on its deck and he uses the ejector seat to get the car back up before the missile blows it up. That's cool, that's good. Pierce Brosnan's a great James Bond. Die Another Day was a dud, in my opinion. The 3rd best Brosnan one, I'm going to go with Tomorrow Never Dies, which I really enjoy, actually. Even though it's my 3rd placed Brosnan film. The more I rewatch this film, the higher up it goes on my list. Released in 1997. And also, Moby did a cracking techno James Bond theme mashup, and it's one of the best James Bond themes out there. He did it for this film. It's got a terrific car chase in a parking lot with the BMW. But this film's way ahead of its time. There's also a slight dig towards CNN, which I dig. Fake news. Way ahead of its time. There's a scene, you know, Bond's got control of the BMW with his remote control mobile phone. It's way ahead of its time. We're getting to a period where that won't be too unrealistic. And we're getting to that stage. My first cinema trip to see James Bond, I've seen 2 Brosnan Bond films in the cinema. I've seen all the Daniel Craigs. I might not. I probably will see the 5th Daniel Craig film, No Time to Die, is it called? Written by a feminist, featuring a woman doubles. I really can't. The World Isn't Enough is my second place Brosnan era Bond film and one of my favourites. It's in my top 10 Bonds of all time. I didn't originally like this film. I remember coming out the cinema thinking that wasn't so good as the previous Bond films I discovered that year. But over time, I've garnered more respect for this film, and it rises up in my rankings each time I do a rewatch, and it's one of my favorite Bond films and Bond games actually of all time. Very underrated Bond game 2, The World Is Not Enough on the N64. The best Brosnan film. And right now is my new number one. I went through, saying The Spy Who Loved Me is my favorite, to the From Russia with Love is the best, but in these rankings, I'm putting GoldenEye as the greatest James Bond film so far in my re-ranked Bond film rankings. That's a mouthful. GoldenEye, this film gets overshadowed by the fantastic video game GoldenEye N64, 64. They're both, it was what a great time to be alive when this film came out, and 2 years later the game came out. Just a great time to be a Bond film fan. But Brosnan's original. He has a heck of a battle with Sean Bean 66 in this film at the end. It's got some other great villains, a fantastic tank, ridiculous but fantastic tank chase in Russia. Just everything you want from a Bond film is in this, and it's directed by Martin Campbell, who 11 years later would go on to direct Daniel Craig's first entry. So GoldenEye, so far in my re-ranked Bond rankings, is my number one placed film. It rose to the top. I loved it when I watched this. When I fell in love with James Bond, I was blown away at how great this film was back in 1999, and it's rose to the top of my Bond rankings once again. He's not my favorite James Bond, Pierce Brosnan, but he's a great James Bond. But he's no Sean Connery. He's definitely no Roger Moore. But as far as films go, GoldenEye at the moment is sitting number one spot.